Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. So I just got done watching the Lost Girls part 1 and part 2 OVAs with Annie, and they were really interesting. I honestly I would watch a whole series of Annie detective stories that involved Hitch and Marlowe and getting Annie to not be a Titan. They're actually really good. I liked those OVAs a lot. And we do get we got a little bit of insight into her and her dad's relationship very briefly. But now that we know what we know about season 3, it kind of makes a lot more sense, right? Which is fun. So there is one more OVA to watch, and then I'll be all caught up on the OVAs for Attack on Titan, and that is Lost Girls Lost in the Cruel World. And so I know the only thing I know about this one is it's one part and it's just about Mikasa. So again, y'all told me to not watch the Annie one until after season 3 part 1, and I'm glad y'all part 2, and I'm glad y'all did. And then this one you definitely said don't watch until after part 2. So I'm assuming it may have something to do with Armin or Aaron or something that I didn't need to see until after I finished part 2. So I'm like, okay, cool. Good to know. So I'm really curious to see what all is going to end up happening in this OVA. I've liked the Attack on Titan OVAs a lot. And I'll probably talk about them more in the recap, but I have liked the OVAs quite a bit. And so I am curious to see what all happens in this one. But as always, I'm going to be recording my reaction and coming back and discussing it afterwards and talking with you all about them. So let's not waste any more time, shall we? We're just going to dive right in. I've been excited about these OVAs. I've waited all weekend and week. I'm going to finish season 3 part 2 before I watch them, and so I have been waiting to watch these OVAs. And the Annie ones were really good. I liked them a lot, so I'm curious to see what happens in this episode. But let's not waste any more time, shall we? We are going to watch the OVA for Lost Girls Lost in the Cruel World, and we're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. So yeah. Oh. This is a really interesting concept, the idea that Mikasa, when things the what if scenario of what if things, because that's the thing about this series, right? So many things happen in this series that's like if they had just altered it just a hair, just a wee bit, if things were altered just a smidgen, then it'd be so different, right? It'd be such a different thing. And I love that about this series. I love the concept that it's like the what if scenario, right? I absolutely love it, but I'm like, so much to think about. So she imagines a different reality, right? Imagining a different reality if things start to get, totally depressing and gloomy. And so when she has that moment, we go back to the pomegranate, she has that moment right before she thinks she's going to die back in episode 7. She imagined like, what if things have been totally different? But the thing about it is that it all comes back around. It's like history corrects itself. Like she's like, well, there is no what if scenario because you can't alter the past. You can't go back and change it. So no matter what she does, it's still going to be the same. History is going to be the same, whether she likes it or not. And it's like, so there's some things talked about Aaron in this that I want to bring up because I'm doing the recap after this, obviously for season 3, part 2. But the pack of dogs, I want to bring up the pack of dogs. First of all, right before we get to the pack of dogs, the fact that Mikasa is suggesting that her mother was pregnant when she died, that's so sad. That's so sad that she thought she was pregnant with a boy and then she died. That's so cruel. Cruel world indeed. I'm like, how dare you, show? How dare you? Because, yeah, it makes sense why Dr. Yeager was coming to visit. Yeah. And then the whole thing with preeclampsia and trying to move them inside the city and everything. But if that had been the case and they actually did move inside Shiganshina and the walls were attacked, it's like things could have been. But also, in the same vein, in this alternate reality, the scouts get disbanded and the walls are sealed. So I was waiting for something to happen with the Titans coming in and still wrecking the walls regardless. So that's so interesting. But then, yeah, the pack of wild dogs, they didn't attack Mikasa. Mikasa had like a jolt, like a boom. It wasn't the jolt of lightning that she gets with the knife, but it was like a bolt. And the dogs ran away. So I was curious about that. If there was something to that, I don't know. I find it funny with the Ackerman family, with the Ackermans, that she makes the dogs go away, the beasts. And Levi's an Ackerman, and he fights the beast Titan. So I find it curious that these beasts like stray away from Ackerman's. I was like, interesting. And I forgot all about the embroidery. The mom says that there's the special embroidery that the Eastern clan does. I'm like, I wonder if we'll ever go back to that, if that's important. I feel like that embroidery thing might be important if we ever go back to it. Like, because she said it was passed down from generation to generation, and one day you would teach your children how to do it too. So I'm like, I wonder if there's any significance to that. Right? So I'm curious if we'll ever tie back into that. Don't spoil me, but I'm curious if that'll ever tie back in. But yeah, so the idea of Aaron training to be a soldier and telling her that her brother, it'll be a good thing because her brother can be a soldier. Like, just the difference of season 1 Aaron versus this season Aaron is crazy, right? But tying back to the dream, the idea that Aaron right before the end of season 2, before the basement, Aaron had wanted to go see the world and wanted to just get rid of anybody that would stop them and then go see the world and see what's beyond there. And it's curious because now when we look back, I just finished episode 22 of season 3, and Aaron is lamenting the fact that there's enemies they have to destroy, but then will they be free after they destroy their enemies, right? So it's like he's been making it out being like, in episode 12, back in season 3, episode 12, right before they left for Shiganshina, he's like, well, we just have to get to the walls, stop all of our enemies that would keep us from going beyond the walls, and then we'll be free. And it's like, killing Reiner Bertolt isn't going to be enough anymore. Now that he knows his father's memories, Aaron's like, killing Reiner Bertolt is not going to give us freedom. It's not going to be it. There's so much more to it now. And it's like, it's like, what do we do? What do we do? But yeah, the idea of Aaron wanting to see the world and Mikasa just wanting to be by his side. That's all she wants. She's like, she's made a friend and she just wants to be by his side. The little dolls that she made, the little Survey Corps Aaron doll, and the little one with the scarf. I'm like, oh, and she kept the one with the scarf and she gave him the Survey Corps one. I'm like, stop, Mikasa. Oh my gosh. But yeah, the difference that, and I like that when they go to see, I love her little blue dress and her hat when she goes to visit Aaron inside Shiganshina and the scout regiment comes back, and it's almost like the reaction is a little bit different than it is in episode 1, because at this point they've not killed anybody. They've never killed someone. They've not been exposed to the cruel world, right? They've not been exposed to it. And then the idea of Aaron and Armin going up in a hot air balloon, like that was the fever dream part of it. I was like, oh, okay. And the sad thing is the whole idea of the hot air balloon calls back to Armin's parents dying. And it's like, it's crazy. But yeah, everything rectifying itself. And then Aaron giving her the scarf and telling her to meet up with him. And that it's a promise. Like everything is tying back. History is correcting itself. I love the concept, though, of the Mirror Man. I love the concept of the Mirror Man. And the Mirror Man, the hypnotist, it's just you. It's him. He's like, I'll turn this innocent girl into a murderer. And it's like, And it's so interesting because she does end up becoming a murderer, right? And it's her choice, right? Nobody makes her a murderer but herself, right? Which is that's the cruel world, isn't it? And I like that the Mirror Man tells her and says, no matter what alternate reality you create, no matter what world you try to hide in or whatever, Aaron's going to die. It's ingrained in him. It's like, yeah, which you can take that one of two ways. You can either think, yeah, everyone's going to eventually die. So that's what the Mirror Man is suggesting. Is like, you can't stop Aaron from dying. It's not possible. It's just part of life. Or suggesting that Aaron dying at a young age because he got the Titanship. And that connects back to now that she knows post episode 20 and 21, that she knows he's, only has 8 or 9 years left to live. She has to deal with that his death is going to be inevitable and it's going to happen much sooner than you think. So it's like, you can't stop it. So she's like, I just want to be by his side until the end. And that line she says, nobody is able to stop Aaron. It's like, well, yeah, that's a way of amping up our protagonist, right? I'm going back to episode 22 when Flock is like, you're just always used to being right, aren't you? And it's like, yep. But yeah, Mikasa, her motivation is so simple. She's like, I love Aaron and I want to be with him no matter what. And I want to protect him and prolong his life as much as I can so I can be with him for as long as I can. So it's interesting. But yeah, I liked getting insight. This whole what if scenario was just wild and bonkers. And the sad thing about it is, like with the preeclampsia, as soon as Dr. Yeager showed up by himself on the doorstep, I thought that one, he didn't bring Aaron because there's a chance there was a complication in the pregnancy and he didn't want Aaron around. But when he said that it was preeclampsia and she needed to move inside near his house so he could monitor her, I was like, okay, that's how we're going to tie everything together. They're going to move to Shiganshina, and then there's going to be the attack, and they're both going to die anyway. It's like you can't alter the past. It's still going to happen. But everything kept lining up, right? Regardless of the world Mikasa creates, Eren still dies in it because that's the way it's been predetermined. It was really interesting. I liked in both of these Lost Girls OVAs, we're dealing with two different sides. We're dealing with like the Marleyan side with Annie and with the Eldian side with Mikasa, but they clearly both are desiring to protect and be near someone. And in Annie's case, it's to go back home and see her father, and in Mikasa's case, it's to keep Eren near her. And so it's interesting to see these two stories and see these characters kind of developed and to get their motivations fleshed out in more detail. I like Mikasa's character a lot, but I like Annie and Mikasa's characters a lot. They're not two of my favorite characters in the shows. I like Mikasa quite a bit, but she's not one of my like top 5. But I appreciate these OVAs because they make me like their characters more and get more insight into them. And I like that Mikasa, when Eren asks what is she going to do, like your dad's a hunter and your mom can grow food, what are you going to do? And she's like, I don't know. And it's kind of like, the thing of it is, until she joined the Survey Corps to protect Eren, she didn't really have a purpose, right? And then Eren kind of became her purpose for living, and became what she wanted to do with the rest of her life, was watch over him. And it's like, but the problem with that is that watching over someone can't be your only job in life, because especially if there's someone that's self-sufficient like Eren, they don't need you to watch over him. So it's just like, what are you going to do? But, oh man. So yeah, I liked both of these OVAs. I liked the Annie's Lost Girl story, part 1 and part 2, and I liked this a lot. And now I'm caught up with all the OVAs, unless they decide to make more. So cheers! But I'm really glad that Funimation has these on their site now. I don't have to go to the sketchiest site to watch these. I was very happy about that. And so yeah, now the OVAs are done. They were great. I liked them. But now I'm going to get ready for the recap. I'm pretty excited about that. And then we'll start season 4. So yeah, so these were both really good. I am very curious to know your thoughts down below about these. There's symbolism. I like the symbolism of the mantis and butterfly as always. There's symbolism and stuff talked about in these OVAs, and all 3 of them. But I feel like we've talked about the characters and stuff up until now, and I'm going to talk about them more in the recap. So I am curious to know your thoughts down below. I hope you enjoyed this reaction. And so yeah, feel free to leave a comment down below. Please no season 4 spoilers, of course. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more Attack on Titan. Bye.